Hello and welcome to another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. My name is Adam. I'm the community manager at Franchise Hockey. With me as always, and not pictured on your screen, is FHM producer Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with It Lives, Cincinnati Stingers 1981-82 WHA season start. Jeff, we've been playing this since, what, this is our third or fourth year?
We started this with the 78, 79 season, which was the last WHA season.
Right.
And
So
basically, just to recap what we're doing here, the WHA, instead of merging into the NHL in 1979, kept going and has started adding some of its old teams back. And the NHL has gone a different route. We basically expanded the NHL to include the teams that would eventually become part of the league, like New Jersey, and what was the other? Well, we added New Jersey instead, but kept Colorado intact, and brought back the Cleveland Barons and added a team in Calgary, which is actually using the Canucks or Calgary Cowboys name from the WHA, just because the logo was convenient to use. But so this is the sort of a what if of the early 1980s, and we've been kind of struggling so far, eh?
not doing super well, yeah, that's one
Although,
way to put it.
The nice thing is this year the league has realigned a bit with added expansion teams in Ottawa and New York, and so we got one of those out. One of those are both on our side of the conference, and one of them, Ottawa, is in our division. And I think if I remember correctly, I set this up to be it's the top four teams in each conference that make the playoffs. So we basically we would have to get beaten by two expansion teams not to make the playoffs this year. And the other good news is that Wayne Gretzky, had stayed in Indianapolis, where he began his WHA career, but only played, excuse me, I think it was 10 games in real life. Stayed in Indianapolis and was easily the best player in the WHA the last couple of years. He has left for the NHL, and amazingly, the Canucks managed to sign him. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on what happens with them this year. But that means Indianapolis is no longer by far the best team in our part of the league. You know, they've kept a few guys around. Brian Propp stayed. Mike Bullard, who we'll see what happens there. He put up a lot of points in the last couple of years, but it was playing as Gretzky's right wing. So we'll see if we can duplicate that with Gretzky gone, but I think we're going to be a lot more competitive with them this year. We had a pretty eventful off-season. We had our big signing was Denny Savard, who was the way free agency is working in WHA is everything is UFAs. There's no restricted free agency. Your contract runs out, you can sign anywhere. So he had been playing in New England the last couple of years as an 18 and 19-year-old, and contract was finished, and we had to pay a lot for him, $330,000, which is by far our biggest contract, and he would only sign for 2 years, but still, that gives us a big name to add to the first line. Robbie Ftorek, who had been our number one center, has slowed down a little bit last year. Has still had 83 points in 70 games. But he's getting older. We do have him on a long-term contract, but I think he'll be the number 2 center going forward. And let's see, we've got a young Dale Howardchuk who may be going down to the minors this year, although he was actually playing in the NHL at this point. For some reason, he's not developing as quickly as he did in real life. I'm not sure what the issue is there. I'll have to maybe take a look at. Oh no, I did set the training already. I remember doing that. What's going wrong there? The D is a bit of a concern, although we got Gary LaRiviere as a free agent from Quebec. So he may shore up the middle pair a little bit. And goaltending, we started last season with Mike Liut as our number 1 goaltender. He clearly wasn't going to re-sign with us. So we traded him away mid-season for Richard Brodeur, who was also on an expiring contract, just on the off chance that we could get Brodeur to sign where Liut didn't. Problem is Brodeur didn't want to sign either, so he left. We did pick up Dave Dryden partway through the year as a backup and just sort of insurance if we absolutely had to go with him as a starter this year. We would have, but he's 40 years old and he's going downhill clearly, so that wasn't an ideal situation. What we did get instead was Jim Rutherford, who'd been playing for, I think he moved over to New Jersey in the expansion draft from, it would have been Detroit, and then wound up in Atlanta last year. The Flames haven't moved to Calgary in this one since there's a separate expansion team in Calgary, but he was a free agent. We've signed him. He's not going to be as good as Liut or Brodeur were last year, but maybe he'll be good enough, I'm hoping. And we also got a young Mike Vernon and Corrado Mikolev, who was sort of almost a starter in Detroit for a couple of years in the early 80s, but then kind of faded from the league. But we've got him as a possible backup option if Dryden goes downhill really fast.
All right, so we have some choices.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do here is just every day for a game, I'm gonna shuffle the roster according to and maybe make a few changes of my own. The AI should be selecting sort of semi-randomly during the preseason. So I just want to get everybody some playing time. Been doing okay so far, although we just got shut out by the expansion team in New York. Marcus Mattson in goal, who had been with the Winnipeg Jets in real life when they had their epic losing streak. Was it this? No, it was the season before this one. And Chris Katsopoulos, was I think with the Rangers or the Whalers. He went from one to the other, and I can't remember the order of it. Or I could just look at it. Started with the Rangers, went to Hartford in this season, in the off season, and was playing pretty regular minutes in the NHL at this point. But again, he's another guy who hasn't developed as expected, but now he's hurt. And it's long-term enough that I'm going to have to put him on the injury list. So that's one guy who won't be making the team out of camp.
Right.
So I'm just shuffling things around a bit as we go through this. Yeah, Matty Hagman gets a game as a first-line center. I think to start the season, and another loss to a surprising team. San Diego was absolutely terrible last year. They were like, I think didn't even manage 10 wins for the whole season. And just going with the AI lines for every game here. Should be almost the end of the preseason. We'll take a quick look at where everybody is. Denny Savard finally leads us to a victory. There we go. There's just what I'm just waiting for. Training camp development. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just I've been looking at the signing tracker because Jeff and I started talking offline about NHL free agency open today in real life.
Yeah.
Because it is right now as we are recording this, and maybe you're watching it later on YouTube or on the Twitch archive. It's July 28th, and so there's been signings going on most of the day. We are currently streaming on 3 different platforms. So we are on twitch.tv/franchise hockey manager, on twitch.tv/OOTB developments, and we are streaming live on Steam as well. So if you have any questions, by all means, please put them into the chat. I am watching all of them, and I'm sure Jeff's watching too. So I'm just trying to keep my eye on a little bit of everything. But I also remember, Jeff, do you know what today is the anniversary of?
Not offhand, no.
No. It's the day your favorite Canuck was signed to a deal.
The Messier deal. Oh yeah, I love that.
Yes, it's the anniversary of the Mark Messier deal. Now, do you remember how long ago that was?
Not long enough. 95.
Nope, sooner than that.
94?
How is that sooner?
Oh, I thought you meant like earlier. So 96 then.
Nope, you're still off. It was 1997.
Oh, yeah, okay. I remember I was down in the States at that point, but I was there for a couple of years, so it was one of those 3 years. Okay, preseason over. Doesn't look like... Oh, Savard had a pretty good preseason. And, Mikolev. Oh, is that just one game? One exhibition game? Okay, no. So he's probably going to start in the minors, so I'm going to trim the roster down. Oh, we got... not to mention we had a development report, and wow, look at that for Deneen. He's still only half a star, but had a ton of off-season development. That's very promising, as did Dale Howarchuk. So I'm wondering if that 3-star rating is just misleading for some reason, and we'll see much bigger improvement. And another one, Gary Nyland, also still at half a star, but... And, oh, Samuel, gee, good God, look at that. Have you ever seen a line like that in Samuelson? He's got 3+3s, a bunch of +2s. I think that's the most development I've seen from one player.
And remember when I had to convince you to draft him?
Yep, okay, I was wrong, and Brent Sutter makes it up to 2 stars at 19. So, go ahead.
The whole point of me talking about Vancouver, though, was I forgot to mention that you finally have Nick Patan on your team.
Yep, BC boy. So that's the Vancouver seemed to go really heavy on signing the locals. I think mainly to fill out the Abbotsford roster now that the farm team is going to be local.
And also, we had talked about Montreal too, because Montreal went on a signing spree. Also, did you see how their owner just slipped in a statement there, like halfway through?
No, I missed that. What did he say?
Well, he basically bemoaned the fact that the guy they drafted in the first round.
Great.
And he's like,
so
we're
yeah,
committed
the owners
to
are really
him.
Same thing.
We're committed to helping him, and he's not going to come to training camp. He's not going to be at any of the rookie development, and he's going to be focusing on improving himself and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't expecting quite the reaction back, and it's just like...
Right under the bus.
You release right when free agency starts. Huh? That's a interesting choice of time.
Yeah, that's... I mean, and then Bill Foley in Vegas did pretty much the same thing with the Fleury situation. He said he had promised Fleury he was going to be with the Golden Knights for life. And
that was back when he first got him.
Yeah.
That's always a bad thing to say to on your first start. Oh yeah, you'll always be here.
Well,
Montreal though?
What I meant by always was.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say was Montreal. Interesting signing, I think, is Chris Weidman is coming back to the league.
Yeah, Montreal did reasonably well today. I think didn't sign any stupid contracts and got a couple of reasonable deals in Hoffman and Savard.
Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah. Added some more depth stuff too.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, I left the waiver draft on here. Okay. I thought I turned this off. Apparently not. Wait, no, I didn't want to do that. Oh, Janusik.
Yeah, I was keeping tabs on Jets and former Jets where they're signing. Like Chase DeLeo getting a chance with New Jersey. New Jersey went on a pretty good signing spree too. I think they were still going after somebody tonight. Well, I don't recall who it was. Oh yeah, Brandon Saad. They're trying to sign Brandon Saad. That's who it was.
Okay, waiver draft. Probably not going to be much available.
Oh, season preview. All right.
I'm not going to take anything here. We had a couple of guys moving around the league, but nothing of interest.
Bob Janusik would almost be tempting.
Bob Janusik is ours. We got him.
Is he? All right, my bad then.
Yep.
Then you should claim him back.
Actually, what I should probably do is shop him, because we've got no use for him with Vernon coming up. Let's just see.
Well, you could have signed somebody else, but you chose not to, too.
And we did. You get a few offers. Okay, 20-year-old Andy Brickley. That's not terrible. An elderly Serge Bernier. 19-year-old Chris Valentine, also pretty good. Although he didn't get a lot of playing time this year. And a veteran defenseman, 32-year-old Rick Lee.
You're going to take him, aren't you?
That would, yeah, definitely improve our D, which is a question right now. So I'm going to complete that.
I knew it.
Okay, so to start the season, I'm going to send Mikolev down to the minors. We'll go with Dryden and Rutherford in goal. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 defensemen. I've got to keep Samuelson up because he's too young to send to the minor leagues. Which is kind of the trade-off we've got. Say what?
Yeah. I said, but boy, you got his training set up, so he's going to keep improving.
Yep, I remember doing that last time. Patrick Sundstrom was injured, so he's going to have to go on the injured list for a little while. Okay, how would the AIs choose the rosters? Oh, do I need... Actually, I should call a forward back up. I didn't think I was that thin. Howard doesn't start the season in the minors then. And yeah, Granado, the other 17-year-old that we can't play, can't send to the minors. Okay, so what the AI wants to do, I don't want Mike Gartner on the, wait, I'm gonna redo the roles. Yeah, that looks better. I'm gonna put Curry on the left wing on the first line. And Gartner goes to the right wing. Lock the two of them in place, and then what does it do with that? Why not? No, okay, Savard really needs to go in the first spot, so I'm going to have to lock him there too. Okay, yeah, that's good for Torek, Ashton, and Gustafsson is the second line. And Hagman. Yeah.
Do you feel pretty set with our forwards? Just looking at the free agency market. And there's a very sad Roland Stoltz.
We had him before, and he didn't do much. I think I'm gonna.
He had 72 points in 62 games in the minor leagues.
The EHL, which is 2 levels down. Pierre Plante, who had been a decent NHLer a couple of years before, but he's only 2 stars. Glenn Healy's in there, but we've got enough goalies as it is.
Well, my boy Ron Hextall's still sitting there waiting to be picked up.
Yeah, but I mean, no point in collecting another goalie. No, I think we're okay without signing free agents. And getting back to the lines. Well, if we're going to put Sutter on the right wing, might as well put him in a spot where he's going to get some time. And power plays. No, I don't like that. I think I'm going to keep the first line intact on the power play.
That's probably not a bad choice.
At least on the 5-on-4 unit, which is going to be most of the time. Okay, I think we're good to start the season. And Lee needs a number, so give him 5. Now, do I have my captain set? I think I did that at the start of the year. Naira, Protocalio, and Fatorik. Yeah, that's fine.
I would say Fatorik's still the captain, I think.
Yeah. Even though he's going to be playing second line minutes, I think that's okay. And Ottawa for, home opener against expansion Ottawa. Should be a win, and it is 4-2. And Denny Savard gets 3 points in his first regular season game with us, and Jim Rutherford does reasonably well. Unfortunately, Gary LaRiviere, bruised neck 1 to 2 weeks, gets an injury in the first game. So Samuelson, despite being 17, will need to go into a game right away.
That's just life.
So our first big test, Indianapolis, the Gretzky-less Indianapolis Racers. And we beat them 5-3. So, And shots were pretty even, so I think we're actually going to be competitive with them this year. But we get another injury, and some apparently bruised necks running rampant. Riviere and Lee both out with them. So Dave Inkpen's coming back up temporarily. So kind of a good thing that we signed Lee. If we're going to have that many injuries in the defenseman this early. Oh, good God. Now Rutherford's hurt. No, it's only a sore ankle. He can still play. But we got Indianapolis back again. What?
Hello to Hockey Pizza Oreos. What an awesome name.
I like all of those things.
Probably not all at the same time, though.
You watch some hockey, you have some pizza, and Oreos for dessert. It works.
I'm going to say now it's making me think of, what do you call those? Do you remember the dessert pizzas at Pizza Hut?
Oh, they still have those? Yeah, those, yeah.
I don't think they've had them for years, but back when they used to have the buffets. Oh, the dessert pizzas.
And we get crushed with, I started Dave Dryden as the backup in that, because Rutherford was a little bit hurt, and they rolled over us. J.F. Sauvé, apparently, filling in for Gretzky, had a pretty, decent but brief career with Buffalo and Quebec. So is he getting the first line? Oh, they're spreading it around pretty much. Speaking of Gretzky, let's see how great the Canucks have started. Well, winning a tie in their first two games, so too early to tell, really. Check that again a little later. And our third game against Indianapolis, I think when I set up the schedule, I also had this weighted pretty heavily to play a lot of inter-division games, intra-division games. And we take 2 out of 3 away from Indianapolis. Curry gets another big game, so a 5-3 win for us. So we're okay with them as long as we're starting the #1 goalie. And Riviere is getting healthier. Patrick Sundstrom. Oh, Katsopoulos is coming back a little faster than I expected. Back to the expansion team. Going to give Dryden a start and make it a little easier on him. There we go, 5-1 win over Ottawa. There's the... So despite the injuries off the start, we're 4-1 to start the year, so I'm pretty happy with that. Expansion Ottawa 0-6, but the expansion New York Raiders surprisingly 4-1. And we got Indianapolis yet again. So I'm going to go with Rutherford again, and we get a narrow 6-5 win this time. So we can beat these guys in the playoffs if we need to, I think. And Ottawa yet again, going to stay with Rutherford in goal. And it's a 3-1 win this time. Ruotsalainen seems to be putting up a lot of points for us so far. Take a quick look. 12 points in 7 games. Curry's got, so Curry and Savard, looks like we got some chemistry there. So they're on track for about 130-point seasons. And I did forget to update the goals per game stats in the off-season. So it's going to be, it won't be quite as wide open as the real 81-82 NHL season was, but it'll still be fairly high scoring.
Before you go any further, you might want to look at your upcoming free agents and see if you can get a couple of those guys signed.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Brent Sutter, we definitely want to bring him back, and he wants to do it cheaply, so sure. Good idea to do it at this point in the year, particularly with the younger guys, because they'll probably take a little less at this point. Ruotsalainen, our best defenseman. What's he making now?
181.
181. He only wants a 14,000 raise, so, and isn't asking for no trade clause or anything. That's also good. Danny Jeffron, I don't particularly care for, although I'm surprised he even made the team actually, but
Could be a trade bait later.
give Granato a little playing time actually, and instead of him. And LaRiviere is back and healthy again. I can take Inkpen. Oh no, Inkpen stays in. Samuelson gets a little rest. Don't want to overplay the young guy to start the season. And Sutter and Ruotsalainen both signed their deals.
I just thought of that because, well, I don't want to see us go and getting a bunch of...
Another win over Ottawa. Did pick up a win at some point. It looks like, wow, New York Raiders are 7-1 to start the season. What's going on there? Gerd Trunschke, longtime German national team player who's had an okay season. They got him from Birmingham. Walt Podubny, okay, decent NHLer. They picked up from Winnipeg in the expansion draft. Bill Gardner, who had a really short career with the Hawks. So they've got a bunch of, okay, we'd say, yeah, Ruskowski, that's the first guy that makes a little sense to be scoring that much, but yeah, they're just getting a ton of scoring out of some surprising sources. And Steve Kristoff, who they signed from us as a free agent, who had been kind of disappointing on our side. What's going on with the goalies here? Now, Pelle Lindbergh in goal, so they've got a decent starting goalie, and he's been playing reasonably well, and Mattson only has the one game. So we finally get a game against somebody other than Indianapolis and Cincinnati now, Quebec. So we'll have a look at how they are. And they take a 3-2 win, and Serge Bernier, who we were offered in the trade, winds up being the first star with a goal and assist, so maybe we should have took him. Kotsopoulos is back skating. Anybody ready? Yeah, Sundstrom is day-to-day, so he's almost back. So we're finally getting healthy. But we're back to Indianapolis again. Okay, wait, Samuelson. Rickley is back, so Inkpen can go to the minors again. Take Granato back out. Injuries. Nope, not ready to come back yet. And okay, Sutter is starting to get some points at right wing. And this is getting closer to a full lineup, so yeah, so we had a better lineup in, and we wind up losing to Indianapolis this time. So it looks like we're going to be struggling with them all season to that top spot, because they're beating everybody else apparently. Back to Ottawa, and start the backup. Oh, good God. 9-4 loss to a expansion team, Rich Preston. 4 points. A very young Dave Andrzejczyk with 3. That didn't go well. Starting to wonder if maybe...
I just said not at all.
Okay, at least Patrick Sundstrom is... Oh, no, he's still day-to-day, but I'm going to put him back on the active roster anyhow. So he should be ready for the next one.
So Jeff, too, how do you feel about going back to the real NHL for a minute? How do you feel how much better Seattle already is?
Well, they signed Jaden Schwartz, which usually I can't remember if it happened in the game, if our streaming game with the that's gone past the Seattle expansion now, but I think probably about half the test games I ran with FHM 7 last year, Schwartz wound up signing there in the first season, so I think we kind of called that one. So nice to see. And Grubauer in goal, yeah, good signing there, and they wound up getting a second rounder for Vanacek from Washington.
Yeah, that was more a bit of a surprise.
Well, they decided Grubauer was the guy. Makes sense.
Oh, I know, but I mean, setting Vanacek back too.
Yeah. And there we go. We bounced. Oh, good. Oh, geez. No, we didn't bounce back. That's not us. I read that wrong. 11-4 loss to Indianapolis. Mike Bullard with 5 points. So I guess that kind of answers the question if he can score without Gretzky.
Barely.
My God, how many games do we play against Indianapolis this year? I might have... Wow, I think I may have screwed up the schedule a little bit. I got to balance that a little bit better next year. Because we're playing most of our games this year against Indianapolis and Ottawa, the other two teams in the division. Saves on travel money, I guess.
That'd be a very WHA thing to do.
Yep. Okay, Rutherford in goal. And we bounced back at least with a 5-3 win. But Indianapolis, let's just see out of curiosity, how are they... I just actually saw him before I flipped over. Yeah, Mike Bullard, even without Gretzky, 35 points in 16 games. Tapio Levo, pretty mediocre in Colorado around this time. In the real NHL, he's putting up a ton of points in the WHA. JF Sauve seems to have settled into Gretzky's role, and he's producing a lot. And then that's Mike Ruzioni from the 1980 Miracle on Ice team, which didn't actually happen in this game. They wound up not medaling in the Olympics. But he seems to be having a pretty good season for Indianapolis. And I just want to see how Gretzky is working out in the NHL. Yeah, third in scoring. Ivan Bolderev in Chicago. Somehow in the number 2 spot in scoring between Gretzky and Bossy. And Blaine Stoughton, who was Gretzky's line mate with Bullard in Indianapolis, has gone to Washington, and he's second in the NHL in goals behind Bossy.
Interesting.
But the Canucks 7-4-3 to start the season. And just out of curiosity, I think it's Smeal and Don Lever, who they didn't trade away in 78-79 like they did in real life. On the wing, they're putting up some points. Thomas Gradine from the second line center spot also getting a few. One thing I'm noticing in this, since we've kept the WHA going, there's a lot more jobs to go around. Because it didn't, the NHL just was stuck at 21 teams for a long time. Instead, we've got 20 teams in the NHL and another dozen in the WHA. So some guys whose careers were finished by this point or headed downhill severely have actually managed to extend them quite a bit, even in the NHL, not just the WHA. Go back.
Well, some of these guys had extended careers. They just were out of the top leagues.
Yeah, well, Steve Jensen, who was kind of fading out from the Kings at this point, is actually on a point per game pace here. Hey, P-Wog. I'm not seeing.
Okay, hold on. I got to ask P-Wog in our chat, in one of our chats, I guess. Let me ask you this: how do you feel about what the Wings did today?
A 7-2 win over Indianapolis. So I think we're back on track.
You missed what the Wings did. Okay, well, hold on a second here. Let me pull it up. Oh, Ryan Dzingel signed with Arizona. The Wings signed Pius Sutter, which is a good signing for them. Ryan Murphy, defenseman, and I thought they signed somebody else. Oh yeah, Calvin Pickard and Sam Gagner. Sam Gagner coming back is interesting. I can't believe the guy's still in the league, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive. He just doesn't go away.
Like honestly, I thought he would be
Points
out
for
like five,
perseverance.
6 times. I'm I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just Pewog. Will they make the playoffs? I guess they also traded for what was the Carolina's goalie's name? Nekovic.
Did they? Didn't say that.
Yeah, they traded for him.
Yanukovych. And get our first shutout of the season over Quebec. Good news. So 10-6 to start the year. This is by far, I think, our best season opening. And Katsopoulos is healthy, so I think we are 100% healthy now. Mind you, Katsopoulos is going to have to go down to the AHL because we don't have room for him right now.
Okay, so will they make the playoffs? Depends how good the rookies play. But I don't think I'd be booking a ticket to go
Ouch,
watch.
Mike Gartner did something bad apparently because he's suspended for 7 games. Oops. And Gartner not a particularly dirty player either. But that'll give Tony Granato a little more development time.
Dun, dun,
and at least
dun.
it's only Ottawa we got to play tonight. And the first game of the suspension. And we cruise to a 9-0 win despite not having Gartner. Patrick Sundstrom back from the injury with 4 points. So if he has a breakout year, we're going to be, I think, a legitimate championship contender here.
Intriguing.
Did somebody get hurt? Dennis Savard's got a sore hip. It's only day-to-day, though. Momentary panic. So Fatorik will get 1 game back in as the #1 center, and he leads us to a 6-4 win. Gustafsson with 6 points, and Fatorik is the third start with 3 points. So I think Jim Rutherford is working out reasonably well in goal so far. Although he's pretty tired, so we will give Dryden a start against expansion Ottawa. And that didn't work out well. 6-0 loss to the expansion team. Michel Dion getting the shutout for the center, the Nationals. Don't really want to get blown out by a team that's 3-20, or it would have been 2-20 at the time. Okay, Savard's still hurt. Gartner's still suspended. We got Indianapolis back. And yeah, can't handle them with those 2 out. 6-3 loss. And JF Sauvé putting up Gretzky-like numbers. He's got a 15-game point streak and a 12-game assist streak. 38 points in his first 22 games.
I'm impressed.
Well, maybe this Gretzky guy was overrated.
That seems unlikely.
And put Savard on the second line for 1 game just because he isn't back at total fitness yet. And we manage. Oh, we lost in overtime to Quebec, 4-3, and we don't get a point for that. And Sauvé gets his. No, wait, I wanted. Yeah, Dryden's going to have to start against Indianapolis. This probably won't end well. 2-1 win. Surprises me. And he's got a 34 save performance.
Oh, Pewog's looking up and seeing that Luke Glendening left. Yes. So I'm looking for guys that came to their team.
And old man Dave Dryden hurt his back apparently, so we will call Mikolev up for a single game.
Did you
Did
you
I?
offer Dryden a contract extension?
Not yet. I think he's probably going to retire. He's 40, and he's having a terrible year so far. Honestly, he may not even be on the roster by the end of the season.
Fair enough.
Oops, got too many players in the active roster now. Who did I... Oh, because Gartner is suspended. Oh, this is... Actually, I'm going to have to sit Dryden for a couple of weeks and leave Mikolev on the roster for a while, just because the numbers didn't work out with the guys that we can't send down.
There was one 17-year-old you could send down, right?
Nope.
Sure.
They were both... I'll show in a second. We got a shutout, by the way. Rutherford against Indianapolis, which is good. Granado and Samuel.
Well, Kevin Dineen could go down.
He is down.
Yeah. Well, he was 17.
Oh, wait, is... oh, no, it won't let me down.
Right. We don't have a first-round pick this next year either. You traded it away.
That shutout, by the way, snapped Sauve's point streaks. Did I trade that? So I did. You remember what we got?
I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, me too. Checking it. Must have been last season. Two seasons ago? You found it? I can't find it.
Not yet, no.
Okay, gonna start Mikolev, the rookie, in against Ottawa. And he gets a 6-1 win in his first WHA game. And Paul McKinnon with a minor injury. So Samuelson gets a game in that. Give Rutherford the start against Ottawa and another 6-1 win.
Oh, weirdly, Jeff, it just hasn't been assigned to us.
No, I remember doing something with us that lost it.
No, it's not assigned to anybody. In fact, nobody... Oh, there we go. Our two expansion teams have first-round picks, but nobody else does.
Oh, that's odd. That may fix itself when we get to the around to the draft. And Rodichelio gets a minor injury that takes him out, so I'm going to have to play McKinnon back in, because even though he's not quite ready yet. Yeah, that's fine. It's only Ottawa at least. And Ottawa steals a point for us, 2-2 tie. Because there's no shootouts in this league, because shootouts are evil.
It's like saying overtime is evil.
Overtime is questionable.
There
we go, we finally got Gartner back.
Question for people in the chat asking how much Pius Sutter was making, and I think it's yeah, 6.5 million total, 3.25 a year.
Okay, Dale Howardchuck's kind of been struggling in the lineup, so we'll send him to the minors. He was up to 3.5 stars potential though, so that's climbing back up again, which is good news. And narrow 4-3 win with Gartner back in the lineup over Indianapolis. Dave Dryden is healthy again, but I think he's got to spend, he's got 3 more games on the counter, 3 more days on the counter before he can come back. Oh, great. Gartner got, he's got a black eye day to day with that. Boy, we got a problem with the roster numbers. Oh no, we got enough to call this one guy up. That's fine. Gonna give Kevin Dineen 1 game rather than bounce Howardchuck back and forth and screw up his fitness and morale. And against the surprising New York Raiders, who slipped back a little bit, but are still 13-10-2, and we lose to them.
Oh, man. It'd be nice to catch a break at some point.
Another development report. Samuelson coming along nicely, as is Granado. Howard gets a couple of points. Dryden slipping. Torek down again. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to regret that long-term contract. And Riviera, that's not great. And board confidence update. Season is a great success, and the team is in outstanding shape. Just going to double check that against the job security screen. Yeah, we're nicely into the green. Team chemistry is good. Fans are moderately happy. Can't blame them. We've kind of struggled for a few years, so they may be a little skeptical so far.
Plus, it's Cincinnati. They're not used to winners anyways.
And a 4-1 loss to Ottawa with Mika left the backup in goal. Still struggling with the injuries. Yeah, wow, Indianapolis runs up the score on us, 8-4 loss. Ross Fitzpatrick, who's actually the cousin of a friend of mine, gets first star with 3 assists. He's a longtime Flyer scout now, played a few games for them in the early mid-80s. And Dryden is healthy. So he's been going back on the active roster. Mikolev, who had a reasonably good start, I may wind up pushing him out of the lineup by the end of the year. He may wind up pushing Dryden out of the lineup by the end of the year, because Dryden's numbers haven't been good at all unless he turns it around. I'm probably going to have to make that change.
Geez, there's a name I haven't heard for a little.
Well, we got major fitness issues, and I can't really do much about it because we've got those 3 guys with minor injuries. All I could really do is put somebody on the injured list for 2 weeks, but all these guys are day-to-day.
Well, I think you're going to have to.
I'm going to try and get through one more game. It's only Ottawa. Give Dryden a chance to redeem himself. What were you going to say?
I said you're just trying to limp through it all.
And yeah, Dryden actually plays pretty well. 44 saves in a 4-3 overtime win. Into December, we're 18-11-1, so pretty pleased with the way we started this year. Brent Sutter's almost back, and yeah, thankfully I really overdid the unbalanced schedule here because we got 2 more games against Ottawa here. Ashton is not perfectly healthy, but good. No, wow, Denny Savard's fitness has really gone downhill, so I'm going to give him a break. I don't want him getting hurt. He's playing well, exhausted. And we still get a 7-5 win. Patrick Sundstrom with a hat-trick. Are we getting close to halfway point of the season? Yeah, 7 more games. See if Dryden come up with another good game against Ottawa. 2-2 tie and 34 saves, pretty well. And we had a few days off there, fortunately, which is going to help with the injury situation. Yeah, Gartner is healthy again. That's good. So I can send Deneen back down. Granado can go on the bench, Savard can come back in, and Rodda is still the only real major missing element there. And actually, our defense is really tired. So yeah, actually I'm going to give Katsopoulos a game here. See if I can get him jump-started development-wise, because we've got a fairly exhausted group of defensemen there. Oops, somebody's missing a jersey. No, it's Katsopoulos.
Oh, yeah.
And narrow 5-4 loss to Indianapolis. Rutherford seems to have played reasonably well. Katsopoulos gets his first WHA goal.
Sweet.
And now Curry's got a minor injury. But he can still play, fortunately. Just a sore ankle. Maybe back in time, or maybe healthy in time for the next game against Ottawa. Not quite, but his fitness is still half decent. Radicchio could play if he needs to. I'm going to sit Riviera this time. He's the least fit guy. And let's go to win here against Ottawa, 6-2 win. Good. Gardner with 3 points. Danny Jeffrion, who's managed to stick on the team this year after spending all last year in the minors, had a couple of points. And Ottawa yet again. Curry is day-to-day and down to 70%, so we'll give Granato a game there. Radicchio still not back up to 100. Let Dryden start. Kind of wondering if our record is so impressive just because we're piling up a bunch of points against Ottawa. Ruotsalainen, hat trick from the blue line. And this time it's Hagman's turn to get hurt. Okay, Katsopoulos can go down. We're almost coming up on Christmas here, so I'll probably stop around that point. Another narrow 3-2 loss to Indianapolis. And because we can't go more than a couple of games this season without an injury, Riviera bruises his collarbone. So Samuelson getting more time than I intended this year. Hopefully that doesn't hurt his development anyhow by rushing him. And we get a win over Ottawa, 4-3. Byron Shutt, another guy I kind of expected to play in the minors this year, gets the first star. And we'll give Dryden a tougher start against Indianapolis. See how he does against better competition in Ottawa. And okay-ish. We get a win, although it's 7-5. It's a good 80 score.
That's a perfect 80 score. Although 8-7 might be a little bit better.
Okay, halfway through the season, 78 games total. We're at 39, so we're on track for 96 points, which would be, or did I might have bumped that schedule up to 80 games, not sure. No, I don't think I did. Yeah, by far our best season, 96 points. Our previous best was 64. Curry is number 6 in the league in scoring, and yeah, Bullard, I guess that answers the question about whether or not he can produce Gretzky, because he's got 71 points in 39 games. He's actually on a higher scoring pace than he was with when he was playing on Gretzky's line. JF Sauve, 31 points in 71 games last year. Now he's got 64 in 39. And Glenn Anderson also having a breakthrough year in Winnipeg.
That's not bad at all.
Approaching 2 points per game. Rutherford's goals against average is maybe a little on the high side. Although, so yeah, a lot of these guys probably don't have a lot of games. They're in the backup, so he's He's kind of in the middle ranks as far as goalies go, although he's number 3 in save percentage. That's good. Marcus Mattson, surprisingly, number 2. He's only a 1-star guy. The New York Raiders somehow are the best team in the East, ahead of Quebec and New England. And Birmingham seems to be dominating the league. They've got that crazy good group of defensemen: Coffey, Bork, Craig Hartsburg, and they actually lost Rob Ravage in the expansion draft because they were only able to protect 3 defensemen and had to give away one of their good young guys. But Goulet, who was an actual Birmingham Bull, I think he's been in there since the start. They signed Dino Ciccarelli too, Jim Fox, Dale Hunter, another guy who started in Birmingham. Keith Crowder did the same. So they've kept most of their young guys.
Jeff, there's somebody who had to be not young checking out the broadcast. Mud70 in the chat says, I saw the Stingers a couple times.
Wow. I saw the Winnipeg Jets, but it was only after they came to the NHL, so I was able to go to a WHA game. Would have liked to have seen one.
So would have I.
Saw the Oilers in the early 80s, too.
And P-Wog says, University of St. Thomas Tommies joined the CCHA New League. Not familiar with the school. Can't say I am either.
They've been, what did they have, a Division 2 program or in Division 3? Are they stepping up this year? Not sure.
Bud, 70, I was like 7. Oh, I mean,
okay,
that
so
makes sense.
You're actually probably still younger than I am then. Okay, so Birmingham kind of dominating the league here. Let's see how Indianapolis is done without Gretzky. So Claude LaRose actually looks like he's getting as much playing time as Brian Propp. Kind of expected Propp to be the big guy in Indianapolis this year, and he's having a good year, but he's not dominating the way Bullard and amazingly J.F. Sauvé is. Thomas Steen is in there too. Steve Casper, I guess, is probably the 3rd line center. And Eddie Mio and Gary Innes, who've been, I think, the 1-2 combination there for quite a while. Adam Oates, I've got him as well. He's only 2 stars. He wasn't really known at this point in real life. Ottawa, just terrible, 532-2. We probably have something to do with that. San Diego, as bad as they are actually improved from where they were last season.
I think I said this before, but I have an autograph from Adam Oates hanging up right behind me right now.
Your Jets are doing pretty good, 25-8-1 to start the season.
And I should have got to meet Adam Oates, but that didn't happen because of the foolish rules at the time.
Why? What kind of rule?
Well, my cousin played college hockey, and whoever he played college hockey with ended up playing on the Bruins with Adam Oates, and that's how I got Adam Oates' signature from that time. And they were playing in Winnipeg, and they were hustling basically to get out of the arena.
Yeah, I remember when Oates came to the NHL, he did it as he wasn't drafted. He came in as a free agent, and it was a big. Say again?
With the Red Wings.
Yeah, it was a big deal because the Red Wings got both of the big name, or 2 of the 3 big name free agent college prospects last year. Oates and Ray Staszak. Remember him?
Not really. No, can't say I do.
He didn't. I think he played about 20-odd games, and he was thought to be the better of the 2 of them. So we see how that worked out. And the Canucks are leading their division, and Gretzky is catching up to Mike Bossy for the scoring lead. So he'll be on track for about 170 points, it looks like. Don Lever, Lever and Smeal having career years beside Gretzky, and Bob Mano putting up a ton of points from D. Looks like it's kind of cut into Builder Lego's playing time. Now he had a breakout year last year and has kind of regressed. And Glenn Hanlon is the starter in Vancouver. Anybody else interesting there? Oh, Jamie Hislop, who they signed as a free agent from us, is actually producing slightly more than he did for us. Oh, and Marty Howe, they actually took 2 guys from us last year, Howe and Hislop, and Howe looks like he's been playing regularly, but he hasn't done any better for them than he did for us. Islanders, defending Cup champions, dominating again. Montreal hasn't really regressed like they did in the, or at least as much as they did in the actual early 80s. Yeah, I guess Lafleur never got hurt, so he's still putting up a ton of points. Guy Lapointe surprisingly hasn't declined yet. Schutt and Jacques Lemaire didn't retire. He's slowing down a bit, but at 36, still productive. Gainey is putting up more points than he did historically. Larry Robinson still doing well. Here, look at all those point per game guys. 6, 7 guys, almost that total. Napier, yeah, Serge Savard's still doing reasonably well. Yeah, most of the Canadians team from the Cup years is still intact. Rod Langway not putting up a lot of points, but still one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. The goaltending is questionable. Steve Penny, who's a little young, who eventually had a good season a few years later for them, but this is before that. And Richard Sevigny, so-so save percentage, but super low goals against average. And who's bad in the NHL? Oh, Pittsburgh looks like the worst team in the league. What went wrong there? Oh yeah, that's actually pretty much in line with the way the actual Penguins were at this point. Q, Malone, they got Steve Payne, that must have been in the draft. I was going to say they signed Réal Cloutier from Quebec, but that's Roland Cloutier. And if he's getting second line center time, they're in trouble. And yeah, it gets really thin after that. And a young Greg Millen in goal. So the goaltending isn't that bad, but not a terrible team. Interesting that the league actually the NHL looks a little more balanced than it was at this point. A couple of teams dominating, but there isn't the really terrible teams at the bottom. And the Leafs somehow above 500. What's Ballard done to them?
Be scared to know.
No, they've actually kept the. So they haven't broken up that team the way they did in real life. Lanny McDonald's still there, Daryl Sittler's still there, and they've got Kent Nielsen playing with them. So that explains why they're having some success. Turnbull and Salming, Maloney. They've got Anders Kallur, and good depth there. Tiger Williams is, with all the guys that have come in, looks like they've cost him some playing time. So he's not going to get the 30-plus goal seasons that he did with the Canucks and Leafs in the early 80s. And, Palmetier hasn't left as a free agent. And even Bruce Boudreau is getting a little bit of playing time. So he's not, with the league expanding, he's not quite the career AHLer he was in real life. And Palmetier's continuing to play pretty well for them, so the Leafs might actually be able to have an outside chance of doing something. And I guess we're running out of time here, so I will just advance this as far as the next game, but we won't play that one. I think we're going to get to Christmas, a little bit of a break. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick check of our stats. We haven't looked at that yet. Curry, okay, it's made sense. It's a good thing that I put him on the first line because he's taking advantage of that. He's going to have 100-plus points this year. Ruotsalainen also having an excellent year. Fedoruk, despite getting sort of pushed down a little bit by Savard, is outscoring him, although Savard's got a few fewer games played. Mike Gartner, with the injury and the suspension, has lost a bunch of playing time, but would be having a good season otherwise. Matty Hagman, who I think has an expiring contract. I should take a look at that before we go. Gustafson's a little bit disappointing. Ashton has regressed a bit. The Sunstroms, Patrick and Peter, both doing, continuing to improve. Danny Jeffrion, who's bounced back after a year in the minors. Not bad. Brent Sutter, I'd like him to be getting a few more points. And goaltending-wise, Dryden's numbers have stabilized a bit. And, yeah, Rutherford playing pretty well. Let's just see what Hagman wants here. He's making $57,000 now. Oy. $150,000 for 3 years, so he wants triple the money and a no movement clause. I think I'm gonna not go ahead with that right now, at least.
Early should have offered him a contract earlier.
I'm not sure it would have mattered. And anyhow, he's 3.5 stars, but we're going to have Sutter moving up next year. Howardchuck's going to need playing time too. Not the end of the world if he leaves, and they'll be free agents. So do you want to wind it up there, Adam?
Sure. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in to another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. We typically stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OOTP Developments, as well as twitch.tv/Franchise Hockey Manager. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we are at Franchise Hockey. We can also find a link to our official Discord in our Twitter bio. Of course, you can come on down to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums where you can come talk about Franchise Hockey Manager 7, Out of the Park Baseball, Out of the Park Go, Perfect Team, or anything else you wish to discuss. Jeff, did I miss anything there?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. So we don't have anything, the FHM 8 development still going on, making good progress. Everything seems to be more or less on track, so we'll probably have some news about that coming up in the, well, not the immediate future, but some point this summer, by the end of the summer. But everything's going well there. Got a few new interesting things to add for this year. I think everybody will be happy with those, so we'll keep you posted on that. Thanks for coming out. We'll be back next week with Adam's San Jose Sharks game, which is going reasonably well this year, isn't it?
Better than it was.
Better than, yeah. Well, it was a rough start. I think we've kind of turned that around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thanks for coming out, everybody, and we will see you a week from now.